Fear stops us from achieving our true greatness. Are you a professional woman who is feeling stuck, unmotivated, or burned out? Are you worried about your wellness? Are you letting fear stop you from crushing your goals? If you answered yes to any or all of these, then this is the podcast for you. Dr. Charmaine Gregory, night shift emergency physician, burnout thriver, and wellness champion, along with everyday heroes just like you, will explore how to face fear in our lives and emerge victoriously.
Hello, Fearless Freedom family. Today we have a special treat because we have the amazing Dr. Dawn Mueni Becker, and she is a fabulous, fabulous lady with such an amazing set of stories to share with us today. And she has overcome fear on several different platforms and emerged triumphantly. Right now, she is settled in Florida, and she's an infectious disease specialist. But I want Dr. Becker to share with you all her greatness. So, Dr. Becker, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Charmaine. Thank you, first of all, for having me here to have this conversation. And I am so proud of you, Dr. G, for creating this.
Oh, thank you.
A lot of not only physicians, but a lot of people really benefit from just hearing you talk to all these other amazing people that you have on the show. So my name is Dawn Mueni Becker, Dr. Becker. I am an infectious disease specialist practicing in Florida. And my story actually begins, let's begin in Nairobi. In Nairobi, Kenya, where you know, I was born and raised there. I had one brother, and I was a pretty good student. Both my parents were, you know, teachers, and so you can imagine the discipline in the house was pretty strict. I ended up going to a high school for girls, a boarding school, which had nuns as the leaders, and we had school uniforms and regular class. So responsibility was taught to me at a pretty early age. And after I finished high school, I knew that I wanted to do medicine. However, I was called to do commerce, what you call Bachelor of Commerce at the University of Nairobi. And I had two options, either do BCom, as we call it, or go to another university that is outside town and enroll to a parallel program in medicine. At the same time, I had a friend who was an au pair in Germany. And when she was there, she said, hey, I'm applying to med school here. So as a clique, me and three other girls, we applied for med school.
That's some very positive peer pressure there. Very positive.
And I mean, I did know some German. I had some German in high school. And after high school, I went to the Goethe Institute in Nairobi, where I was intensifying German as a language. And so I applied, and I totally forgot about that. So my plan was, I was going to do, or rather what ended up happening, I was going to do BCom, Bachelor of Commerce, and parallel evening classes of CPA at a private college in Nairobi. Yeah. When one day there's this watchman at the gate of the estate where we used to live. He gives me a very dirty envelope and says, Mueni, is your name Dawn? And then on there is my name, Dawn Munyoki, really Maddie. And it looks like my dad got this letter a couple of weeks before, or even months, I'm not so sure. And he must have dropped it. And because it was all in German, he probably didn't even know what this letter was about, right? Okay. And so that was a letter inviting me to, you know, to do the test that would make me, you know, start my medicine studies in Germany. And just like that, I was rushing against a deadline. I got the visa on a Friday. I was flying Friday night, arriving on Saturday, and I was sitting for the test on a Tuesday. So everything just
oh my goodness, what a whirlwind.
And that is how, that's how I ended up not studying BCom and studying medicine in Germany.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is something else. Oh my goodness. It's almost like, like your destiny was it was definitely for medicine. I mean, just to think of that, like, what if he hadn't picked up the envelope? What if he hadn't asked you about it? Your life would be completely different. That's awesome. That's so awesome. So how was it? Like, how did you, so now you're literally, you're trying to beat the clock because, this is something that you could have been preparing for or, getting ready for had you had the information sooner. And so you're rushing out, you're getting there, you're coming to a completely different country. You may or may not be feeling comfortable with the language because there's a little bit of background, but it's not, it's not like it's one of the tongues that's spoken in your home. And so now you're in a foreign country, you're taking this pivotal exam that could be completely life-changing, and you have no idea like what the result's going to be. So how long did it take before you actually found out that you got accepted into the program?
So I think it was a matter of I want to say less than 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah, it must have been less than 2 months. And somehow I was just, I would just tell my parents what I need. I need this to go to the embassy. And it was almost, I didn't feel any resistance, by the way. In fact, that Friday I was flying out. We were having the farewell party at our house. And people were so surprised that I walk in and say, I got the visa. And they're like, wait a minute.
How did you get a visa so quickly? I mean, it's so amazing, like how the stars align for everything to happen.
Yeah. No, in fact, they were like, wait, you're flying out tonight. Basically, I booked the flight, everything, even before I got the visa. That's kind of just how, I don't know, I didn't have any doubt at that point because the exam is on Tuesday. If I don't get the visa on Friday, then I wouldn't be able to, start that semester. And I knew if that wasn't going to work, I already had my BCom plan. So that was definitely very pivotal for me at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so did you end up staying once you took the exam and you had that 2-month gap? Did you just stay in Germany for 2 months or did you come back home?
I must have misunderstood the question. So after the exam, it's basically, first test is to test your proficiency in German.
Okay.
And I aced it.
Oh, good for you, girl. I had thought nothing less of that. I figured that wasn't going to be the case anyway.
And then what happens is, so it's called Studienkolleg, which basically in English would translate to pre-university. So basically, I went to the University of Cologne, where they have a program for foreign graduates to kind of learn having German as the language of instruction. So basically, the first year of pre-med, if you want to call it that, was biochemistry, physiology, all these things, but this time in German.
Wow.
And that was a really wonderful time. Not only is Cologne a vibrant city with many cultures, as you can imagine, we had all these students from all over the world, Brazil, India, Poland, you name it, and they're all doing different courses because not everyone is going to do medicine. You have people who are on a technical track and others who are going into the arts. It was just wonderful. We'd have all these cultural events. I just got to meet wonderful, wonderful people. And being 19 at that time, I just kind of think of having, a better way to have spent those early years in Germany. Following that 1 year, you then apply to different universities. And I thought I was going to stay in Cologne. And then I remember a few months before, I had gone to visit a friend in Heidelberg and we went out partying. So when I got the letter from Heidelberg, I just remembered about how cool that party was. And that's basically,
yes. Oh yeah, that's how you make your decision. It was a cool party. I'm gonna go there.
right. And then it turns out Heidelberg is like the university, right, to study medicine. I mean, I knew
Oh,
it was
wow.
for
Okay.
me, but really when I was deciding to go there, it was more like I have a friend there and we'll have good times. And so that's how I ended up moving from Cologne to Heidelberg. And that is also one moment where I'm glad that it worked out, and I
Wow.
managed to move to Heidelberg and fall in love with the city. There's a saying that Heidelberg, or there's a song which says Heidelberg, where I lost my heart. And truly, most
Oh,
people who visit Heidelberg kind of feel like a piece of their heart remains there. Yeah.
wow. Did not know that. That's pretty cool. Now you're making me want to visit Heidelberg, you know? Germany,
Well,
Germany is on our family bucket list. We haven't made it to Europe yet. You know, it's kind of crazy. But it's on there. Cool. So you had this not directly related reason for going to the place, and you end up going to like the best place, which is awesome.
yeah.
And then so you did your training for medical school, and then you got done, and then you're practicing. Is that what happened, or was there like a different sequence of events?
So med school in Germany is structured pretty different in that you have all 6 years. There's no what do you call it here, undergrad or anything like that. So from the
Gotcha.
first year, it's all medicine related. And I graduated in May 2011.
Okay.
Following that, I already started practicing mainly in internal medicine at a hospital in Ludwigshafen at
Okay.
that time. And yeah, life was pretty good. And
Wow. So got done with med school, started practicing. Then what happened?
and then so basically how I came to the States was because I was dating my now husband, Tom, and we were in the same clique all through med school, really good friends. Then
Okay.
we started dating, kind of more towards the end of med school, around 2009, 2010.
Okay.
I had no plans of coming to the US, right? But he kind of already knew this is what he wanted to do based on his interest in medicine.
Right.
And so he had done all the USMLEs, these are the exams required to be able to practice in the US. So he had already done them parallel during med school.
Okay.
And so when we realized that, we were getting serious, I had to start thinking about, I might have to say that I'll move to the US
Right.
if I want to have this relationship.
Yeah.
And that is actually where I can say I felt fear.
Okay.
Because
Okay. So you were not afraid about going to a completely different country where the language is not your own to practice medicine, to like learn about medicine. You were not afraid about applying to medical school there, and then ending up getting in to the best one. But you were afraid when he said, "I'm going to be going to the States. Are you down with the program?" Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And
So how did you deal with that?
And that was really the tough part. And I guess I'll come back to that. But how did I deal with that? My mentality at that point was, I'm young, right? I'm young, and I have to give this a try. I felt like I had a backup plan, right? Like I can always come back to Germany if things don't work out,
Got it.
But
Okay.
I know that this is such a wonderful man that it would be a pity, and I couldn't ask of him to abandon his aspirations, right? I couldn't say, why don't you cancel your US plans and stay with me here?
Right.
And so I took the big leap, and it was a big deal because you can imagine I hadn't done any of the USMLEs. So I've graduated. I have my cute apartment in this big city.
Right.
I'm living life. I have my friends. And then all of a sudden, I have to be in between being a physician to hoping I'll get into a job in the US.
Right.
And so I have to say, really, the first year in Michigan was the toughest not really in my life, but it was really a tough year. That is really where I really had to face a lot of fears and and conquer them. Yeah.
Wow. So what do you think was probably the most difficult part? Was it, so the weather probably wasn't, right? Because you had cold and you had snow in Germany, so that wasn't a big adjustment. I'm just thinking from from Nairobi to Germany, that's a big like climate adjustment, right? But then from Germany to Michigan, not as much. But was it more the fact that you were an attending in Germany and then now you're like a resident and it's like, okay, I'm not autonomous. I'm listening to, other people and then people aren't aware of your backstory, right? So, if you think about it, like a lot of times, and now I'm speaking from like the attending side, and you probably can speak to this now being on the other side of things. But like, when I encounter an intern, I assume that the intern is at the level of just coming out of medical school, not having been an attending elsewhere, not having had, certain experiences. And so that's my approach to the intern. Whereas, you had a completely different backstory, and so I'm sure that you encountered some things as an intern that you're kind of like, are you kidding me? Like, I already know this. You know what I mean? Did you find that or?
So I'll tell you, when I moved, I hadn't practiced in Germany for very long. So I wouldn't, and that's why it was easier for me to say, when I said I'm young, I hadn't actually become attending status in Germany at that time. I was moving to the US.
Gotcha. Okay.
But then it's just, the hardest part for me was the not knowing, right? Because up to this point in my life, I like something, I apply and I get it. Okay,
nice.
Well, kind of.
Well, no, it seems like that was the case. You're being truthful there.
If you know how the system works, this thing about matching just provoked a lot of anxiety, right? Like,
oh yes,
I'm just imagining that this computer is gonna do whatever it does, and maybe I will have a spot or maybe not.
Right.
So that is what that I really had trouble dealing with. That my life is based on some system out there just shuffling all these interviews, and it was really, really a tough time. And I just had to to focus and know that I have come this far. I don't think that things will not work at this point. And I learned that the last thing you want to do when you're feeling this way is go on the internet, because I went to a website and you see all these statistics. Basically, statistics were against me, right? An IMG, as we say, international medical graduate. I have no prior experience in the US. If you were to give me a percentage of matching, it's not good, right? So I decided to know all these numbers, because not only did I want to match, but I wanted to match in Michigan, where my husband also is.
Right.
There's no point of me ending up in another state. So everything was actually the odds were against us, more or less.
Wow.
But I'm just glad that I managed to match in St. Joe's, where I also got to meet you, Dr.
Yes,
G.
yes.
And yeah, it's been, every milestone has been like that statistics say not likely, but somehow,
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. So the biggest thing was, going against the odds and looking at that as part of the, I'm trying to follow this man that I feel is going to be my life partner. And, things are not looking as bright as I would like them to, but you did it anyway. So literally you saw the item that was a cause of fear, but you went forward anyway. And so that's like the important part right there, because clearly, when you did that, great things occurred, right? So you were able to match at the same program. So for those who are listening who are not medical, his program was in conjunction with 3 different hospitals, and one of the hospitals where he did his training was the same hospital where Dr. Becker trained. So it worked out really, really well, because Michigan is a large, it's not as big as Texas, but it's a decent sized state, and it has the good fortune of having several medical residency training programs. And it could have been that you ended up in Kalamazoo or something. Not Kalamazoo, but maybe Lansing. It could have been that you end up in Lansing at MSU instead of at St. Joe's, and then that would have been very challenging for preserving a relationship and with all the rigors that come along with residency. Even though both you guys are amazing, and I'm sure you would have been able to do it, it still was not nice to be in the same locale, right?
Yeah.
So I'm definitely glad that worked out. So now you've gotten to the point where you've made a transition to 2 different countries. You have adapted to several different cultures, which, even in the States, different states have different culture, which I think is always very fascinating. But so you've done all these things and you've overcome such great mountains. You've kind of gotten to the top and raised your arms and said, hey, this is awesome. So now you're done with the residency and you did your fellowship, and you're still with Torben at this time. So when did you guys decide to get married? Was that a decision that was made during the residency period, or was it when you guys were both done? How did you guys come to that decision?
So first of all, this girl was not moving continents just following any man, right? So,
I hear you. That's a big deal. I mean,
so because you can imagine, my parents have supported me through studies in Europe, and then
right.
When I'm done, I show up and say, I met this guy, and yeah, we're moving to the States. So before coming, he proposed, and so we were fiancés at that time. So we knew we were gonna get married.
Awesome.
To the US. And then and this is something crazy. I didn't think it was crazy, but I planned my wedding during my intern year.
Oh my. Wow.
And I really think that sometimes, what people expect of us is what that gives us fear. Because being in a new country, I didn't even have a sense of what it means to be an intern, right? Or I didn't have a sense of what it means to plan a wedding. I just knew that this is a time to get it done. And like that,
wow.
it's in looking back that I go like, oh my gosh, how did I even do all that? I don't know, but it was just natural at that time. We got married in Kenya, and so that in 2013 is when we were married. When I was in residency.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and I'm sure that was a very beautiful wedding. So you got married back home. So did his parents end up coming there? Like, how did that go? Like, did the German family come down to Kenya?
So my in-laws came, his cousins. We also had mutual friends from med school who I'm really honored that they made it. So it was a beautiful function.
Awesome. Yeah, no, African weddings can be pretty amazing and pretty epic.
Yeah.
Was yours one of those epic ones with all the people?
No comment.
Okay, fair enough. It's all good.
Basically, let me tell you one thing. And you know how I managed to get it done? I did not really detach myself. I said this wedding is for my mom and my aunties.
Okay.
So I can't be bridezilla and I'm here and it's there. You have to kind of let go at one point if you have to keep your sanity. And that's how I approached it. And it worked out beautifully for everyone involved. So
awesome. No, that's great.
Yeah.
That is great. Great.
Yeah.
So, and so now, okay. So you have changed countries, you have gone, you're in continued training in a completely different environment, completely different language. Thank goodness it's your native tongue, right? But and then you have to learn the system, which is filled with electronic medical records and probably a little bit different schematic as far as the diagnostic workups. And when I say that, I mean a lot of countries outside of the U.S. do somewhat less testing and more bedside diagnostic workups. So it is just a little bit different. So I don't know if there's a huge difference, because Germany is very advanced when it comes to medical care. So I don't know if there was a huge difference, if you saw that between the 2 places. But there's also that adjustment, like how things are done are different between countries. So that's another thing. And then you took on the Herculean task of being an intern, which, you know, anybody who has experienced this or knows someone who's experienced it, it is a time when your life really is not your own. And it's a period of 1 year. And you are just like, you're like a fire hose. Like the knowledge is coming to you at fire hose speed for an entire year. And you are making a transition from just having the paper that says that you're an MD to actually or a DO and having or MBBS, and you're having to now start to kind of put it all together and make some decisions. So it's a huge transformative year. And the fact that you planned a wedding in another country in addition to that is incredible. And so I think that you said it perfectly. The fact that you didn't think about it and you were just like, you know what, I'm just going to go with the flow. I'm not going to like, you know, give my aunties and my mom any static because, you know, it's going to happen. It's going to be fine. And everybody's going to have a good time. So, you know, I think that having that attitude probably made it, you know, tremendously successful and allowed for you not to like totally lose your mind, you know, during intern year. So you guys got done with training and then now you decide that you're going to be moving states. Like, how did that happen?
So after a couple of years in Michigan, we knew we want to go to somewhere warmer.
Weather. Okay.
That is kind of what and so we looked at I love California, but then I was already made to know that just forget about it. Okay, just let's not even think of California right now for other purposes.
Right.
So we had Texas, Phoenix or Florida.
Okay.
And I always wanted to do infectious diseases. And I just felt that, you know, given the location of Florida, you will see a lot of tropical diseases if you want to call them that. And I think, you know, you get exposed to a lot of pathology and the patient population is just as diverse as the field itself. So that's how I applied for fellowship in Florida, and the fellowship years were kind of like checking Florida out.
Okay. Can I really live here, kind of thing? Gotcha.
Yes. And Tara was also doing his fellowship in Pittsburgh for, you know, there's 1 year where he was in Pittsburgh, I was in Florida, and down here 1 year ago, and we really like it. So that I think we'll be staying in Florida now for a couple of years. So far,
awesome.
It's wonderful. I love, you know, living country.
And
I'm really happy to see even different sides of the States. I really meet people from all backgrounds. It's just you know, amazing that you can have so many differences in one place. And I think I love that. I like seeing that you have a place where not only do you have the college town population, but also the surrounding areas has kind of the farmers and the locals. Then you also have people who've come to work at the medical facility here. It's just lovely. Yeah.
Awesome. So you guys are going to be there for a little bit. Do you feel like was there, you know, so you have, I mean, there have been so many triumphs and, you know, scary points in your story. Do you feel like there's anything right now that you are dealing with as far as facing a fear?
Yeah. So one reason why I'm thankful that you asked me to come to this podcast, because I really took time to think about what do I think of fear.
Okay.
And this is what I think.
Okay. Let's have it. Let's hear it.
So fear is meant to protect us, right? I mean, if you don't have fear, you're brain dead, basically. It's what that drives the fight or flight reaction, and it's meant to serve us, to survive. We need fear. It becomes a problem when we overdo it, right? When we have too much fear and we get kind of the fear body, right? You feel curl up, you get a tense neck, and then I realized that much of the pain that we go through, the underlying emotion is actually fear, right? And I'm slowly learning that knowing that fear is there and loss is inevitable, I embrace fear, because everything that we do to resist fear turns out to be what Tara Brach is a lady that I've been following recently, and she describes this as false refuges, where you have strategies that people use to get away from the feeling of fear.
Right.
And this, just to mention a few such, you can, let's say you have a project coming up, you can end up just going on the internet. You're now on YouTube, you're reading all this, Wikipedia pages. That's one way of actually trying to run from fear. Another way of trying to resist fear, or another strategy that people develop, is over-consuming, right? So you might start taking alcohol, or, using drugs, or even chocolate, or, you might end up reaching out to sweet foods. Aggression is another way. And judgment, you're constantly judging yourself, saying that you'll never get better enough to be embraced by other beings. That is all kind of our ways of trying to resist fear. And they're like, the more fear we feel, it's like being on a bike. You're bicycling away from the present moment. The more we fear, the faster we are trying to cycle, and we try to do more. We try to defend ourselves. We try to get much faster. So what I'm learning that needs to happen is two things: recognize it, recognize experiencing fear, just pausing, right? Anytime you have an unpleasant, pausing and recognizing your fear body, and then allowing that to be there. We need to learn to be in the presence of vulnerability and just say, this is what is happening, and I'm fine with it. Because the problem comes when we let fear make us smaller than who we are.
Yes.
And another that I like to put this is, if you take a cup of salt and put it in a sink of water, the water will taste salty. But if you take the same cup of salt and pour it out in a lake, the water won't get salty at all. And fear can be here as long as the sense of our own being is large enough, right? So we are not saying let there be no fear, but let it be there. But we should always remember that we are larger. We can take the fear. We can embrace it. It belongs. It's okay for it to be there. And for that, we need a lot of self-compassion, self-love. And that's one thing that I've been working on now, not to resist fear, but actually to say it belongs, and realizing that I'm larger than it. Yeah.
Wow. Preach it, sister. Oh my goodness. That was awesome. Wow. That is very I can tell that you have put a lot of thought into that. And now I'm going to have to, you have to tell me who that is. I can put that person in the show notes that you're following. Yeah. Because that sounds like someone that we need to be looking at and listen to what her thoughts are as well.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Her name is, in fact, I can say the YouTube page or the video that she did that kind of have much of this. So this is Tara Brach.
Tara Brach. Okay.
As you know, guys, I already have an accent. That's just how it is.
No, hey, it's not good.
Her name is Tara Brach, Tarabrach.
Okay.
She has a book page, and she actually goes live every Wednesday, where she also does some meditations.
Okay.
And she has very many videos on YouTube, but one of them, which is from earlier on in her work, is called "Finding the Juice Inside Fear."
Okay.
Where she talks about the false refuge, and that there's only love or fear, and we need to contact fear, allow it, and be in the presence. That's how kind of we overcome fear, and by recognizing that we're larger than
that's
that.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to look into that, because I'm always looking for other sources of, getting into space where you're feeling like, okay, I can deal with this. I can make this happen despite everything telling me no. Like, the little voice that you get in your head that says, oh, no, you can't do that. Oh, no, you should stay over here, But no, that's good. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I'll definitely make sure that we put that information in the show notes as well, so the audience can can reference it. So, this has been such an awesome conversation. And I know that all the nuggets that you dropped and everything that you talked about is going to definitely inspire, the women who are listening and the men who know women who would want to listen so they can have them listen. And, it's been a great conversation. So I definitely appreciate your time and your candid sharing. So, that's definitely appreciated. So we are at the point in the show where we do fill in the blank. And this is just where I will give you the beginning of a sentence and then you fill in the blank with what that means to you. Okay. So there are 3 questions. The first one is, to me, fearless freedom means.
To me, to me, fearless freedom means that so I don't know what it means to me, but
okay, that's okay.
So to me, fearless freedom, I think we get freedom by actually meeting fear and saying, what can I offer you? So, and through that, we get freedom, right?
Yes.
And so basically all freedom is in the absence of fear. So it's self-explanatory. That's what I would say. That's what fearless freedom means to me. That having no fear is freedom.
Awesome.
Although the thing is, we're not trying to resist fear, right? It's gonna be there. We just need to meet it and give it what it needs. Sometimes beneath fear, you're probably thinking, I'm not good enough. But then if you just tell yourself that you're loved and you're lovable, that is all that fear needs, and it disappears.
Nice. And then the next one is, if I am fearless, I will.
If I will reframe that, if I am not worried about people seeing my imperfection, I will, what will I do? I will start a blog or something like that, or my own podcast or something like that.
Yes, do it. Yeah. Definitely, you should.
Yeah.
Cool. That sounds good. I'm looking forward to your podcast. And then the last one is, my battle cry is,
even this belongs.
Even this belongs. I like it.
Yeah.
Like it. Awesome. Great interview. Thank you for joining us today on this journey. Fear is all around us. It strives to stop us from achieving our greatness. We have the tools to be overcomers. By sharing our stories, supporting each other, and doing self-reflection, we can do this. If you found value in this conversation today, please be sure to subscribe to and share this podcast with your friends. By going to your favorite podcast platform, leaving a review and a 5-star rating, you will help to get the word out about it. And that is much appreciated. Thanks again for spending time with us. I appreciate your time and your attention. It is my hope that you will punch fear in the face today and that you will be strong, be brave, and unleash your greatness.